Rachel Cook here, founder of the Yogipreneur, and I'm so excited for today's interview on Yogipreneur TV. I'm talking with Mel and Kara of the Yoga Recipe, and if you haven't heard of the Yoga Recipe, this is one of the coolest new things out there for yoga teachers to grow their following and to build their business without really having to tackle all of that techie online stuff themselves. So Kara and Mel have an amazing story. They're actually friends from before this business who came together, and I'm really excited to dive in and hear more about how you guys have put Yoga Recipe together and what's coming up in the coming year. So welcome.
Thank you. We're so excited to be here too. This is so fun for us, and we just love you so much and what you bring to yoga teachers and people in the conscious space. So bravo to you as well. So
thank you. Well, I know Kara from our previous work together, and I'm excited to get to know Mel a little bit. I'd love for you guys to talk about how did you come together and create and birth this idea?
Birth, that is the perfect word for it. Well, we had actually met several years ago working together at Lululemon Athletica. So we saw kind of firsthand teachers really struggling to make ends meet. And we saw this yoga business that was just super profitable. So we thought, hey, maybe we could work together and do something and give back to teachers. And we both were working on separate businesses. Rachel, from us working together, I was trying to do something else and Mel was trying to do something else. And neither thing was really happening, but we really kept coming back together on that idea of wanting to give back to the yoga community and how can we bring more abundance into their lives. So we started hosting goal coaching workshops at different teacher trainings. And from that, we kind of saw this need that teachers said, hey, I'm a seasoned teacher. I've got a lot of content to share. And new teachers would say, hey, in your goal workshops, you come across like sequences or content that we could buy or that you could pass on to us. And we said, hey, wait a minute. Okay, there's a problem. And we are connected with these yoga teachers. Maybe we can bring all of this together. So that's really, where the seed of it happened.
I love that, and I want to pull out a couple little nuggets that other people can take away. And one is that you both had other business ideas, and they weren't really going the way you had hoped or didn't really take off, but you kept engaged, you kept talking and bouncing ideas off of each other, and you weren't afraid to pivot and shift focus when you saw something that was obviously a need that people were actively looking for.
And what's interesting too is when we were in those businesses that weren't working, while the yoga recipe is a bigger idea maybe than the other ideas that we had, it's actually come together so much more seamlessly and easier than these other businesses. It was energetically like there was just blocks, like it wasn't supposed to happen. It was both of those businesses were just so hard to get together. And when we started doing this, it was just kind of like, I don't want to say easy because it's a lot of work, but it seemed like, oh no, this is the right path that we're on because things just kind of really lined up. But we, in the very beginning, committed to, we were going to meet every Tuesday. We didn't know that the yoga recipe was going to exist yet, and we didn't know what we were going to do, but we said, let's just meet every single Tuesday and kind of have this mastermind group where we're just going to spill our brains and see, is anything coming up? And was just that commitment of let's just keep meeting and something will come together.
I think that's really important too, because I personally have mastermind partners and have always had them. And sometimes they change here and there, but it's having that consistent space at a time where you can just bounce ideas off of each other and be like, okay, here's everything that's swirling around. What lands for you? What makes sense? What do you think about this? Let's tear it apart and see if we can make it happen. And that's where so many successful people start, is bouncing ideas off of somebody else on a regular basis, because not all ideas are going to take off.
And I think also for us, it was having, like you mentioned, the accountability, but getting together each week and moving towards something. We always tell people there's nothing uniquely special about both of us or either of us. And we always say it's because we got together and took one step forward every day for the business and for the, what we were working on. So it's just taking a step each day in the direction that you want to go. And anybody can do that.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. Just amazing how you guys managed to pull all those pieces together and keep moving forward even after the first ideas didn't really pan out. So once you guys landed on this idea, how did you start testing it and making sure that this was actually going to happen?
Yes.
I love that you brought up testing, because I think one of the biggest mistakes that have worked with yoga teachers, but I think in any industry, the biggest mistake people make is jumping into something before they really test the concept or test the idea. And you put all this money and time into something, and then it's
nobody wants it.
Yeah. So what we did, since we had all these connections in the yoga space, we actually started going into trainings and selling sequences that way, to kind of see if this was something that new teachers would dig. And then simultaneously, we started building our Facebook following, just kind of sharing our idea, building our brand to see if people were into it. And in both cases, it seemed like it was, you know, the right direction. So,
and we also really specifically sought out people who we thought would hate this idea and who would probably definitely tell us that they thought it was stupid, for two reasons. One, we wanted to get our skin a little thicker because this was going to be our baby, and we wanted to make sure that we had an answer in the future when people said it was silly. But then also, like, we wanted to know, like, okay, the naysayers and the people that are really going to look for the holes in this business right away, where does their mind go? And is what they're saying valuable? And can we take that assumption or whatever we're thinking about that out of the equation?
That's actually really smart. And I do that myself. It can be really hard because you have to not let it be personal. You just have to let it be about the feedback. And that was my biggest lesson, was this isn't personal. They're not attacking you. They're just trying to give you advice and seeing where, you know, you might have some gaps that you need to take a look at before you really go all in. So that's amazing. Perfect. I love that. So now that you have the yogarecipe.com, right? And people can go on there and set up a portfolio. What does it look like if a teacher goes to the yogarecipe.com? What can they actually do on the site and get out of it?
Yeah, so right now it's kind of twofold, because we work with new teachers, but we also work with seasoned teachers. So the seasoned teachers create the content that the new teachers will then buy and utilize as a resource. So it's actually free for both parties to join the site, so anybody can join it as a yoga teacher. And then you can actually, at this stage where we are right now, you can actually scroll through all the content that exists on the site, and you can even filter it by, you know, what style class you want to teach, or how long you want your class to be, or things of that nature. So it's we're working on making it as user-friendly as possible, and we actually are looking for feedback constantly. We want to hear from our users because we've made this for yoga teachers, so we really want to hear from them and tell us what works, what doesn't, what they want to see more of, like things like that.
Awesome. So for someone who's a seasoned teacher, and like you said, they have probably at this point taught like hundreds and hundreds of classes, and they want to put together a little shop on the yoga recipe. What does the process look like for them? Do they have to like record a bunch of stuff, or is it a lot of technology, or is it a little easier?
It's easier, but we hope that it'll actually become even easier in the future. As Mel was saying, we are really working in tandem with a lot of the teachers that use it a lot right now, and trying to see, is there any spots where we could make the experience a little bit better? But overall, it's a pretty simple process. They come on, they just click apply to be a shop owner. We have a really short application for them to fill out, basically where they got certified, what type of yoga they teach. And that's more for us to get to know them more than it is like us saying we don't like this yoga or we like that. We just kind of want to know who's out there. And so they fill that out, and then it comes to us, and we review it, and then we approve them. And they come back on, and they use our custom software tool, which we call the creation tool, just because we haven't been able to think of a better name for it. But they'll go on, and they can fill out the class inspiration and the description for the class, and they can select a theme, and they set their own price on it. Nothing can be priced below $4.99, just because we want to make sure people are valuing what they're creating, because, you know, as a yoga teacher, often you want to give it away and let students come for free, but you know, we really want to take a stand for teachers that what they're providing is valuable. So nothing below $4.99. And then they actually use our pose library to select a section and then poses within it. And most of the photos are from, and poses are from us. We did a photo shoot and we uploaded things, but recently we added a feature for teachers to be able to submit their own photos and request poses to be added to the library. So that's a little bit of a new feature. But yeah, I mean, hopefully it is easy for people to use, but as Mel said, if anybody's having a problem, we definitely want to hear about it.
So that sounds really cool. Like they can actually go in there and kind of create it all on your system. They don't have to like come up with stick figures on their own or become graphic designers. It's just kind of like build your yoga class here and then submit it, and boom, people can show up and buy it from you.
Yeah, and what's been really interesting is we thought from talking to teachers that teachers would come on and have kind of their sequence already laid out, and just it would just be kind of boom, boom, boom. They would put it on there and be good to go. But what we've seen as we've watched teachers use the tool is that it really is fun. They forget that, oh, there's this pose, and then I could do this transition. So we'll see them kind of spend a lot more time in the pose library, and it'll actually inspire them. So that was something that we didn't anticipate that at all being the way that it would pan out, but it has.
That's awesome. Who's the most popular shop person? Like, who has the most popular yoga shop right now?
It's actually somebody here in Austin that is near and dear to our heart. Her name is Liz Vartan, and she's a yoga teacher here in Austin. And this is actually, and I'm glad you brought this up, because what we've seen is Liz by far has posted the most content, and she sold the most content. So we're absolutely sure that there's a correlation there. Now, granted, her content is awesome, and the quality is great. But that's a great point. We see the more content you have in your shop, the more people are scrolling through it and wanting to buy it and come back for more. And but she's our superstar right now. We love her.
I love Liz. That we worked together to do we did a workshop once on doing corporate yoga gigs, and she's amazing and so brilliant. So I'm glad to hear that she's in the yoga recipe. That's fantastic.
And it's cool too, a lot of her content is restorative. And we, again, another assumption we had going into it was that it would be probably like vinyasa, like a lot of flow classes that would be really popular. But her restorative, I don't know if it's just that a lot of people didn't get that really in-depth training in teacher training, but the content seems to really be popular.
That's really cool. So I love hearing that you guys have this intake process to get a lot of information about the people who are posting on their shops. So they're posting recipes on the shops. What about people who are buying the information? What about the people who are, saying, hey, I want to use this class? What do they look like right now? Do you guys know much about those students or teachers?
It's interesting you asked that, because we just started kind of digging in more there, because when we launched, of course, it's like chicken before the egg. We needed content, so we needed seasoned teachers. But then we started realizing, well, people are buying this stuff. We should get into their brains a little bit and see what they're thinking. So we've sent out a lot of surveys recently. We put a survey on the site to kind of find out what percentage of our users actually are teaching. And I think it's at like 85% of the total user base that we have are actual current teachers, more than part-time. And then of the teachers that are buying recipes, 100% of them are teachers. What's interesting, though, also we didn't anticipate, is a lot of the shop owners, these seasoned teachers, actually buy from other shop owners more as inspiration. And as we've sent out Survey Monkeys and tried to figure out, hey, what are you using the recipe for? Are you teaching it exactly as prescribed, or what are you using it for? And overwhelmingly, teachers say they're not using it actually to teach that exact sequence. They're just using it for inspiration. So they just want to know what, if you're teaching full time, you're probably not having the time to be able to go to a ton of classes or, watch a Yoga Glow video or whatever. So that's how I think it's playing out for teachers in a professional capacity, is that they're seeing like, how is somebody else doing this? How is somebody else leading into headstand? And they're not going to teach that exact sequence, but it's definitely going to go in their back pocket for the future.
I
think the biggest thing is it's giving them confidence, and it's really doing what our goal was, is to help new teachers cut down the learning curve. I mean, we wanted to give teachers more time to do the things that brought students back, like class adjustments or just getting to know their students, and that's the stuff that makes them more money in the long run. So we definitely, from interviewing our users, we're seeing that that's really panning out, and it's exciting.
I love that. Something else I saw on the yoga recipe is that people could actually include a playlist with their recipe and get music to go along with the class. Tell me about that and why you guys were inspired to add that piece.
Well, that was actually, I believe, feedback from teachers right at the beginning, because I don't think we had that at the very beginning.
Think so either.
And someone had said, oh, can I put a playlist on there? And how it is right now is teachers just type in the playlist, but in the future we would love to be able to just have you be able to purchase it from Spotify or iTunes or something right there on the application. But it seems like a lot of teachers, make their playlists on their phones or or definitely are inspired by music or plan some specific song for Shavasana. So yeah, it's just, for some teachers, it's a really important part of the sequence in the class, is just as important as, a theme or the book inspiration or wherever you plan the class from.
Awesome. It's been so cool to see all of this come together kind of from from afar, but it's really exciting to hear what's happening right now and how it's all really working under the hood. So I'd love to know quickly, as we're recording this, it's right before Thanksgiving. What's on the horizon for the beginning of the year for 2014?
Well, the biggest things right now is that we are kind of in another pivot, because we are trying to figure out, what are the pieces of the yoga recipe that are most important to teachers? Where are they getting the most value from it? We've always said we are committed to the yoga recipe being successful, and successful meaning that it's a tool that teachers actually want to use. We don't want to just make something to make it. Yeah. So we're committed to it being successful, but we're not attached to what it looks like. So we're just really in exploration right now with what teachers do find valuable and how can we really exploit that to make their lives as easy as possible. So we're anticipating the whole yoga recipe getting kind of a facelift, the tool, the way you create recipes. We're heavy in development mode right now, and we're hoping to have a 2.0 release in the spring. So we'll be working through the holidays, midnight oil burning.
Yes.
Yeah.
The life of a startup. Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes sometimes. So it's been such a pleasure to chat with you guys. I would love for any yoga teacher who's looking for inspiration, or even if you just want to kind of take a look at how they've created this business and get inspiration just from the business itself, head over to theyogarecipe.com. Yep. You can sign up for free to be a member and kind of browse and see what's happening. And I know you guys have a very active Facebook community and social media community, so make sure if you want to be connected to this world, you're checking out the Yoga Recipe.
Thank you so much.
It was so nice chatting with you. And
so great to chat with you guys.
To meet you in person someday soon.
I know, we got to get up to the East Coast.
I know. Well, it's been such a pleasure. I thank you guys so much for joining me. And until next time, I'll see you on the next episode of Yogipreneur TV.
Bye.
Ready to be inspired in your biz? Conscious Business Design is coming soon. For more info and free training, go to consciousbusinessdesign.com.